Hello, welcome to chapter 3 of my Basics of Baroque Improvisation series, whatever I'm calling it. So we talked about the beginning. The opener. We talked about the end. The cadence. And now we're going to talk about the middle. So let's go to something reasonably familiar, hopefully, to most jazz guitarists, which is the shell voicings to Autumn Leaves. So these are root 7th, 3rd, root 3rd, 7th, root 7th, 3rd, root 3rd, 7th, root 7th, 3rd, root 3rd, 7th, and then the one minor in this case. And these are shell voicings. They're 3-voice voicings, and they have this sort of orderly voice leading going on in the steps between the 3rds and 7ths, right? So I think most jazz guitarists should know about that. If you don't, learn it, because it's really important. And imagine my amazement when I opened Peter Croton's Figured Bass for Classical Guitar. Very good book, by the way, and do have a look at it. And this is one of the exercises. So this is obviously a Baroque thing, right? This specific voice leading is not the only one of a cycle 4 or back cycling progression, whatever you call it, circle of fifths, Quintfall, you know, that round the houses. It's got all sorts of names, but we all know it when we hear it, hopefully, because it's really common in Baroque music and jazz standards. So this is absolutely fine for Baroque music. There's a couple of things we have to do. So, for instance, we're gonna play this cycle. We have to prepare the first chord, which is dissonant. This is dissonant, right? Especially if it's out of tune. Yeah. So the A minor 7 is considered a dissonant chord. It's not considered, you know, a chord that you can just sit on or start on, right? At least at this stage of history. So we need to prepare it somehow. And the most obvious way to do that is to start off with a 1 chord. Back to that E minor at the end. That works pretty well. If I revoice these, so the 7th's on top. I like these voicings. They're not standard anymore, but they are shell voicings, but they have a lot of separation between the notes, and I think of them as kind of like string trio voicings almost. You'll see a few of these as I go on. They play very well with open triads like this. Okay. Following on from that, if you just want to flesh this out into 4 voices, I think this is often better for the figuration prelude sort of vibe. Because you've got more possibilities than just going, you know. Well, there's anything wrong with that, but it's a bit limited after a while, right? So I think this is. Or even 4, 5 voices, you just have more possibilities of things you can do, right? So we're going to do that with our Quintfall or cycle 4 progression. Now, the next chord is going to be actually not a complete voicing, because we want to avoid this. So if you have all the chords in root position with a 5th, then that's going to be parallel 5ths, right? We don't want that. So what we're going to do is actually going to double the root, 2nd voicing, and not have a 5th in. Then double the 5th in the next one. Conventional drop 2 voicing in guitar terms, or jazz terms. Then the same doubled root thing, which is a little bit less familiar. And then C major 7th. And then we can arpeggiate them a little bit more richly. Without any fear of parallel 5ths. So if we want, we can invert half of the chords. So we're going to invert every 2nd chord into a 1st inversion. So it's okay, very nice. nice. We can turn those inverted chords into 6/5 chords or inverted 7th chords, and the way I like to do that is by sort of doing in 3 voices, that is. And we're going down by step on the top line. Sorry. Parallel 5th, very bad.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
But hopefully that you can hear how beautiful that sounds. It sounds very French to me somehow. We can revoice these. So in fact, actually, this thing here, we can actually use shell voicing for our inverted 7th chord. So we can go. There's an inverted shell voicing. Very nice. We can also have them a bit more close voiced, which is beautiful. And then we go to A minor, over C, D major, G major 7th over B, C major, F sharp over A, B major, and back to E. Okay, and then if we move that bass down by an octave, we get this. So there's some stretches coming up, be warned. Keep your wrists straight for stretches, by the way. I see all sorts of stuff on the internet. Cool, right? And now we want to flesh them out into 4 voices so we can have a bit more variety for our arpeggiations. Then this one. G major 7/B, and then this, the first inversion drop 2, or sorry, first inversion drop 3, F sharp chord, and then let's go through that. Okay. Last one. I've said the best to last. Right. It's very similar to what we're doing here, but we're also going to invert the other chord. So we're going to go, that will become a 3rd inversion or a 4/2 chord. 6/5/4/2, right? Start from the root position in minor to prepare it all. D/C. Less voices, so it's very nice in 3 voices actually. Okay, so close voiced. Nice if you have the 3rd of each 3rd inversion chord or 4/2 chord goes up to the root of each 6/5, or you get this sort of semitone staggering thing, which is really nice. That sort of thing, right? Great, lovely. I promise I'll get my guitar tuned at some point. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.